I'ma get $1 million in the bank.
What up, y'all? I'm Torre, and this is Rap Latte.
And I am King Green. We are here for deeper conversations about hip hop. And we got Marc Lamont Hill here with us. Thank you for joining us.
My friend, Mr. Night School on YouTube, still at Temple, been in and everywhere around. How many books have you written?
8.
That's crazy.
Wow,
I didn't know that.
You're almost catching up to me. That's what's
I say
up.
you got more than that. Teray got more than that. I'm at not at Temple anymore. I'm at City University of New York Grad Center. I'm at CUNY.
Oh, amazing. All right. That's a win for New York. So you're a big hip hop head from way back. What is worse for Drake? Losing the battle the way he did, or this lawsuit that's going on right now?
Oof. There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than the lawsuit. This lawsuit is shameful. Everybody loses a battle. If you battle long enough, you're going to lose. Right? It's just the reality. Sometimes it's a split decision. Sometimes it's a mollywhopping. Sometimes you know
mollywhop.
Sometimes. But the lawsuit is not only unprecedented, it's so far outside of the grammar and culture of hip hop that it really reinforces the battle. You're not like us.
Yep. Right. Exactly. No, you're right. It's like out of the grammar. Like, we have no language for this. Like, nobody ever lost a battle and then called their lawyer and didn't even. And you're not even suing Kendrick. Like, we might be able to process it if you were suing Kendrick, even though that would be whack. But you're suing
I don't think so.
UMG.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And I think he makes that distinction. Like, I didn't sue Kendrick.
Right.
Because that would be too far. But suing a company seems like it's fair game. Suing UMG seems fair game. And in a way, he's right. I mean, it is better to sue this multinational corporation that exploits everybody than it is to sue your competitor. But in the lawsuit, all of the things that he says that are ammunition for his lawsuit are about what Kendrick did to him. So you're still kind of it's dry snitching.
It's dry snitching.
It sounds like wet snitching to me.
It ain't far.
I don't know how dry snitching is like, them boys over there is bad, right? That's dry snitching. Wet snitching is like him right there. He robbed Miss Jenkins. He's the one. Get him.
Right. But since Kendrick's not being sued, you could say technically it's not like that. It's more like me saying, I'm in trouble, and I'm just like, look, I didn't do it. Miss Jenkins did get robbed, but it wasn't me.
But UMG committed the crime, is what he's saying. They're the payola manipulators. They're manipulating the market. They did it for me, but now they did it for him. This is the definition of snitching. That we've done this crime together, and now you did it, and I'm telling on you.
No, I agree. But I'm saying that's my point. It's okay to do that against companies. It's not okay to do that against people. Like, if he had done that against Kendrick, that would be the thing. But the dry snitching part comes because in talking about UMG, he's mentioning Kendrick anyway.
Exactly.
It's like Kobe and Shaq. Like, you know what I mean? I should just did what Shaq do. Remember back when Kobe dry snitched on Shaq in the police station, right?
That was pretty wet. It wasn't dry at all. It was pretty
That's
wet.
what I'm saying, because this is not dry snitching, because dry snitching is when it's like, oh, hey guys, we got caught. Come out. That, you know what I'm saying? Like, you were still, it's like, oh, we got caught. Come out. That's it. This is he's like, nah, y'all did this. Your daddy did that to me. That's what he's basically trying to say. He's like, your daddy was telling everybody what you said about me. That, like, just straight up snitching and straight. He's a tattletale. Like I say, he's not a snitch.
Is there really a chance that Kendrick won't do Not Like Us for some legal reason or something? Like, I don't know.
It's an interesting question. I spoke to some people off the record at the NFL. There doesn't seem to be any restriction on what Kendrick can do. They're sort of like, not our problem. You're free to do whatever. So it'll come down to some other factors. I think because of how intense the FCC is and has been, I mean, especially post Janet Jackson or, post Justin Timberlake, exploiting Janet Jackson. I think that if he does it, it'll have to be a very interesting way to do it. I could see a musical instrumental, as kind of as like walk on or something like that. But you can't have the whole crowd going wop 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 wop. You can't have A minor. You can't have you can't
Why
do any
can't
of that.
why can't you have A minor?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Why not?
Because I think the FCC will get so many letters and complaints, and that's what they want to avoid. They don't want someone making books. They don't want to have to feel they could beat it. They could beat the case, but it's not a case you want to have to beat if you could just tell the guy, hey, don't have everybody saying A minor. It's just that simple. So maybe third verse.
Such a weird one.
So so they're saying to Kendrick, we will have an annoying problem, not a real problem, but just an annoyance. So don't do your biggest song, which is the main reason why you're here.
It's more than a minor annoyance if you have to field hundreds of thousands of letters and FCC complaints and accusations. I mean, you have to actually lawyer up for this. You have to actually manage it. It's real money. It's not a small problem. But then it's also a public relations question. Do you want the family event, which is what they want the Super Bowl to be? Do you want this family event to be sullied by somebody in the middle of the halftime show talking about?
That seems weird.
That's the argument.
But wouldn't they have that type of pressure already? Like, wouldn't you feel the pressure from the community? It doesn't seem like the general public is in an uproar against this statement when they all have been singing it. All soccer moms, all kids have been singing A minor all year. So now at the Super Bowl, it's weird.
We had a brother come on the show, an MC, who pointed out that Kendrick doesn't in the song actually say you are a pedophile. We understand that that's the message, but there's a little bit more innuendo to it than just coming out and directly saying, you're a killer. If it was Katy Perry doing I Kissed a Girl and the conversation was, does America want this sort of lesbian sort of message getting out? And that's the chorus of the message. And you can't get away from that. Then I could see maybe they are saying like, this might be a tough one, Miss Perry. But like, he's saying he's not like us, A minor. Like you like grandma might not realize what he's saying. You know what I mean? Like grandpa might not realize he's saying he's.
That's what makes it tougher. Because if people understood the nuance of it, they might like it more. But you don't want a crowd full of people screaming the word. You don't want the word being yelled out loud. Particularly if
I can understand that. Yeah, I can understand that.
Because when grandma with the hard of hearing sees the closed captioning, she don't know that. All she sees is certified, lover boy, certified, and she ain't got no context for it. Now again, there's ways to do the song. I think you come out like you could do like HBCU marching band with like they did this year, with the song coming out, and that's like how you come out or how you leave. It could be a transition. You could do the third verse. You know what I mean? There are things you could. Which is and I think the most interesting and damning of the verses and the most lyrically sophisticated anyway. Like you could do that because Drake has made such a big stink about the song being the pedophile song. I think it makes it harder to divorce that in people's minds, which is the Karen of it all anyway. Oh
my God. That kills me. Just thinking about that kills me that you sat there, talked to your lawyer and told them, hey man, we got to stop this. Let's file a lawsuit.
Right. I ain't mad at him though. Look, I understand.
You're not mad at him?
What?
If you believe that, hear me out. You'll understand what I mean. I wouldn't do what Drake did at any point in this, to be clear. But I think that Drake has convinced himself that he has been wronged.
Yeah.
And that this song crossed a line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's not being self-critical. He's not talking about what it means to call him a domestic abuser, what it means to say a homeboy's Kendrick's kid isn't his. And there's lots of stuff being thrown out here that's problematic. But in Drake's mind, there's a line, and this is the first thing that's crossed it. If you believe that, then you do think that calling me a pedophile at the Super Bowl is too much. It's the biggest event in American culture. Calling me a pedophile here is not okay. I get all I'm saying is I follow the logic of why he would say that, given everything that's happened. I don't accept his logic. I think that all of it, either this stuff is all out of bounds or all of it was in bounds. I don't think that this is uniquely problematic.
Yeah.
Even though it was the worst thing said.
Yeah, his arrogance put him in this situation. His ego put him in this situation. So I don't respect it because you have to acknowledge that part of it. Like if you're a businessman, you start from a business perspective in the beginning. why are you in this battle?
Right.
That start there. If you are really just a businessman, so you can't get in the battle, get all muddy, and decide, hey man, this is business. Well, why were you in a rap battle if it was business? Because rap battles are not business. That's not.
That's
So
exactly right. Yeah, I get especially frustrated with Drake because Drake has said in interviews that he takes pride in being in battles and that he feels like he wins them, and that part of his hip hop bona fides come from his performance in battles. And like that he wanted to stamp himself as a legit. This is a couple years ago, but he talked about the Pusha T thing and saying to quote him, that's the one chink in my armor. He said, other than that, like. And even that, he says, like, I could have kept going, but I made a decision for the good of hip hop and for safety and for people and for the culture. And, people Jay Princeton talking me down. I didn't do it. Point being, Drake is identifying with the tradition of the battle. I'm old enough to remember Dre Day, which people don't necessarily think about as a battle rap. But if you think about the allegations of pedophilia there, right? Put down the candy, let the little boy go. In the ad libs, when you think about what he was saying about Eazy-E and Tim Dog, was it problematic? Of course. Was it outside the boundaries of hip hop? Was it outside the boundaries of battle culture? No. Roxanne Shante only built for steady fucking. I mean, how far back do we want to go to think about the things we've said, right? Is Jay-Z going to sue? Like, I never took karate. It was, like, and I'm 40.
That one line keeps coming.
It was
up.
boxing, not Taibo. He's like, that's the correct.
Like, at some point, like, we have to ask ourselves. And again, Drake's argument is those are all different than calling someone an actual pedophile, which is a crime. He's not all the way wrong. Again, it is the worst thing, but you can't arbitrarily decide that the worst thing that's been said is the only thing that's legally actionable. Right? That's an arbitrary choice you're making. If we're either in this or we're not, and definitely if you're in this with me, then don't tell me don't talk all this mob tie shit, right? Like if you're going to be Karen, then be Karen. But don't tell me y'all gangster and we look light but we heavy though. Don't tell me all that shit. And then when the going gets tough, you know what I'm saying? Like you're calling attorneys like that. That's the part for me that always frustrates me.
I mean, I feel certain that Drake has no serious friends in the industry because a friend would have been like, yo, dude, this is not the way. You got to leave this alone. Either get in the booth or go away for a little while and then get in the booth. But don't freaking sue. Let's put out some records. Imagine if he put out an album either the Friday before the Super Bowl or the week before that. So leading up to the Super Bowl, we're listening to Drake music now. And now Kendrick looks different because Drake is talking about love. He's talking about summer. He's talking about the beach. He's on a nice vibe. And Kendrick is still punching at him with Not Like Us from a year ago. But Drake continues to battle with this posture, and it makes Kendrick look right to, as I was saying before, you are not like us.
Let's think about this a little different. Because that's an interesting strategy. But here's what Drake says back to you. He would say, Teray, the problem with what you're saying is that Universal won't let me do that. That the music industry has conspired against me, which is the only reason Not Like Us is a thing is because they conspired. They manipulated the plays. They manipulated the radio spins. So I can't put out a record to clap back because they won't let my record have the light of day. My record won't get airtime.
Hold on. Is he, in this hypothetical conversation, this matters, is he talking to me, Torre, who does not know the actual inside of the industry, or is he talking to his actual friend, be that Jay Prince or Ari Emanuel? You know, the level of friend I'm talking about would be manager, executive level, who would know, of course you can make a record. Of course Lucian Grange would release an album from you right now. He's a capitalist. He can't not release a record from you. Drake may want to get off the label.
See, I think not letting him off. But I think a lot of the insiders are saying Drake's not wrong, right? Every insider I've spoken to, like of higher up anyway, and as well as artists, would say Drake's not wrong. The problem is Drake benefited it from all these years. Drake has records.
Drake's not wrong about which part?
That they probably won't let his record be number one. They won't let his record skyrocket. But
No.
the
I
contradiction.
I have not heard that. Drake, what Drake is right about is that payola and bots have been used to help Kendrick's records, but they were also used to help his. So he's only telling half of the story. I mean, I've done reporting on this as well. Of course, UMG is incumbent. They must do what is best for their shareholders, right? As every major company must. So if Drake had an album, it would be in the shareholders' best interest. It would be in Lucian Granger's best interest. Put it out. Like, let's make some money on it. They're not holding him back. This is one of their biggest artists.
They have ego too. That's the one thing we always go back on. Lucian has power and ego just as well. It can be a hard day for other artists. And look at a great reference to this is Kanye. Kanye had that whole beef with UMG. They were like literally locking him down, and he had to do everything kind of solo. And then that's why it was such a pride thing for him when he had that number one with Playboi Carti, right? And Interscope helped that a little bit, but that was Kanye putting all his T-shirt money into that record with TikTok, stuff like that, to get the record where it needed to be with social media. So they were against him. So I do think big companies are against people, even if they have a stake in it. That happens all the time in the music industry.
Companies always, companies have a duty to maximize shareholder wealth. They also have the duty to follow the law, right? Payola breaks the law. So they often circumvent with their charge.
Payola does not break the law, sir. Failure to report payola breaks the law. So
sure.
UMG is not breaking the law by paying. The radio station broke the law by not saying they were paid. The UMG does not have a legal problem here.
Fair enough, but so I'm not making, my point was less a legal argument. I can see the point. I'm not arguing that part of it. What I'm saying is if I'm Universal and I'm promoting a song like called "Not Like Us," which helps my artist, I am doing it at the expense of Drake, who is also my artist. So when UMG takes an extra $20 million and invests it in making Not Like Us an extra super duper hit, and invests in the bots and the spins and the plays, it's not just raising Kendrick, it's simultaneously dropping Drake. And
that's his contention, that it is dropping.
I think that's indisputable.
And there's a finite, but that suggests there is a finite amount of space in the world for Drake.
No. I think you missed what I said.
No, he's talking about the defamation of it.
I'm only talking about, no, hear me out. This is what I'm saying. I think it's indisputable that Not Like Us harmed Drake while helping Kendrick. I don't think anybody could argue reasonably.
What month was Drake not the number one streaming rapper on Spotify?
That doesn't negate the point. That doesn't negate the point.
No, where do you see the evidence of him being heard? He's the number one streaming artist the whole year for 10 years straight. If Kendrick heard him, he would have dropped.
Okay, so perhaps I've made an assumption I shouldn't make. I assume we're on the same page with this. Your argument is that Not Like Us did not do anything to Drake. I'm talking about even reputationally, but you're saying Drake was not negatively impacted by Not Like Us. That's your argument.
Well, you're doing a bit of a straw man, because I'm not saying no impact,
but this is my point. It's not a straw man. I'm saying because if you accept that he was harmed by it, then Drake's point does hold up, that their investment in him comes at his expense. That's all I'm saying.
But you'd have to show, where does the expense show up? Is it vague, general reputation, image things, or can we quantify it? Well, you're still the number one touring artist. You're still the number one streaming artist. You're gigantic for album sales. Where is this impact? Where did it decline?
Though? You could be number one and still decline.
Green? I don't know if it
did not. It did not exactly decline. It did for a second. The only thing that really went up is Kendrick's music. Drake's, most of his catalog that streams well is his older music, right? And when we say older music, things become catalog after 5 years in the music industry, right? So 5 years is only 2020, right? So Certified Lover Boy, I think, is in that range, or it's 2021. But so that's the streaming that still goes crazy for him. His newer stuff and the stuff that he released, it didn't do well as much as the other. So he could make a case technically to say that, look at my records that I dropped, they didn't do well, and obviously because of this battle record. The problem is like making that a defamation case is ridiculous. You're losing that. Like you're just losing that.
Yeah.
I'm not agreeing with the defamation part of it. Remember, I'm saying this all in response to the argument, why not just put out more music right now with the Super Bowl? And I'm saying I think Drake's position is the more and that Kendrick is being held in sharp contrast and juxtaposition to Drake. So the more Kendrick ascends, the more I look bad. The more his music goes up, the more mine goes down. And so I can't. And because they're no longer investing, even if I accept that, like Drake got the bots and the spins just like everybody else, and I do accept that, which is why I think it's hypocritical. Then it's like, okay, well they're not doing that for me anymore, right? Because if they want not like us to win, and I think the truth is, the record industry does pick winners and losers. They decide who's going to be up and who's not. And that doesn't mean that your music doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that fans' choices don't matter. But our choices are always multiple choices, right? They're foreclosed upon. Like we pick what they give us. And what we hear a lot. I mean, Slime You Out was number one. I don't know anybody. I'm gonna say that. To me, that was not a number one record, right? I don't know anyone that liked it, loved it. It didn't have. But there's a way that they decided that that's the record, and they pushed it and did everything they could to make it. There are other records that I think are even better, or that are awesome that never get that kind of push. So, if I'm
that's because of the fragmentation of the music industry in the modern age, though. So, like when you hear something you used to hear in the strip club, you used to hear it in the streets. You knew that a record was a number one record. Now you can be on a side of TikTok and hear only a certain songs, and that's like the shit. And another person will have their own other songs. So it's possible. So Slime You Out for me, young black women and young women in general, they was bumping that crazy during that time. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like
I think, Mark, it's not unlike what we see in politics in that you and I are Northeastern intellectual liberals. I don't know your entire social circle, but you might be like, I don't know anybody who is undocumented and supporting Trump, but we know that there are thousands of people who fit that description or have family like that. Might be a million people, but we just don't know them. That record you're talking about, if that record was huge in the South and you haven't been to the South in 6 months for whatever reason, we're old. We don't hang out in the clubs of the South. Like we wouldn't know. The record could be booming right, and we just aren't there. We just aren't touching that part of the culture.
And I think that's all true. But I think part of it is, why are these records getting pumped in certain places? Why are they being made the it record? For a long time, anything Drake put out, they were committed to making it a hit because he was that person. And he made amazing music. He's incredibly talented. I'm not saying it's all. I'm not saying it's all like.
Whoa!
He won't let that fly. He won't let that fly. He made amazing music. Clearly.
What happened? I thought Marc Lamont Hill was on the show. What happened?
No, I'm not a Drake hater. I mean, I am. Or I should say, my dislike of Drake is not irrational. I can accept
exactly.
I acknowledge his talent.
No, yours is irrational.
I'm not saying yours is.
No, it is. No, Mark. No, his is irrational.
If you think Drake's not talented, then it is irrational. I mean, Drake is. You can't do what Drake does and not be talented. But before we get to the Drake talent thing, my overall point here is just that record labels do pick winners and losers, and I think that one way to think about this is the Drake perspective, which is they're conspiring against me. I can't win. I won fair and square, and now I'm losing because they're cheating, right? And I think a more accurate assessment is Drake was the shit. Drake was the it person for his run was as long as anybody in modern pop culture in terms of being the it person. The record label put their thumb on the scale in his benefit, and now they've taken the thumb off the scale. And the reason they've taken the thumb off the scale, in my opinion, is not because it's some conspiracy to kill him. It's because he's past his prime, though he's very talented. They feel like he's on the other side of his career, and that $400 million they gave him, it's time to re-up right now, and they don't want to give him another 600, which is what he wanted, or 7. I'm hearing somewhere between 6 and 7. They don't think he's worth that, and so they're not investing in him in the same way. They're not putting their thumb on the scale because it doesn't help their argument. They're like, look, swim. If you swim and kill it, you know what I mean. But we're not going to keep putting our thumb on the scale to justify giving you more money. You know what I mean? Give you more. I'm not putting a 36-year-old point guard in the game in garbage time so he can still get an extra 4 points a game. So that then at the end of the season he gonna say I'm still averaging 22 and 8. Give me my money. It was like, no, you give me like a 15
max contract.
Right? Like,
Yeah,
I'm not doing that for you.
I'm not sure that's the greatest analogy for where Drake is as an artist right now. He is still one of the 3 biggest artists in the whole UMG system. And the potential, if you're Lucian Grange, the potential of a big windfall from Drake is higher than 98% of the people in the building. So if you're looking at some sort of actuarial table about who am I going to get the most from rocking forward, it's not Kendrick. It's not most of these niggas. It's Drake, Taylor, and Weeknd. And I got to help them.
But it's interesting that Taylor and Weeknd are who they're investing in and not Drake. There might be a reason. There might be a reason that Apple's leaning that way. There might be a reason. I mean, people are leaning away from Drake. Now, this is above my pay grade. But at some point, they also look at you and say, yeah, you're still the shit. But I got to be able to look at you and see the decline before the decline. It's just like in sports. I got to see it right before it happens so that I don't end up giving you a max deal and then you don't give me shit, right? So there are insiders who are saying
they don't want to give him money.
Still don't.
Plain and simple, they don't want to give him money. That's just the real. They don't want to give him the money, and they don't want, from what I heard, is like they don't want to say that he actually recouped as well. Is what I'm hearing. Like,
well, they would always do that, right? They
that's that's record business 101. Is no. You still owe us about $25 million. Like they're gonna find it somewhere.
But one thing that Mark is saying, I think. And Green can back this, can account on this, can check up on this. I think you're partly dealing with a pre-360 mindset in which labels are saying, how long can I get you selling a lot of albums? In a 360 world, I'm going to still continue to eat as you tour. And Drake is almost 40. 40, 42, 45-year-old Drake is going to do huge tours globally and make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And UMG
Drake knows the business now. Drake doesn't want Drake doesn't want the traditional artist 360 bulls. That's the point. Drake wants independent. He doesn't want to give them all the money. If Drake were coming, I guarantee if Drake came back and said, look, I'm re-upping, give me the bread, keep things as is, I'm sure they'd be re-signing them right now. But the point is Drake is smart enough to know that he doesn't need the machine as much as the machine wants him to believe.
No, he needs the machine even more now than before.
I don't think he did.
No,
I don't think he never needed. There was a point where he didn't need the machine. There was a point where he didn't need the machine in the sense of like when Drake was just putting stuff up on his Instagram and can sell 500,000 units. If he didn't sign the $400 million deal and went independent, the music industry would have been changed at that moment.
Yes.
That's how crazy Drake's value is. So to say that about Drake, I think is just completely illogical.
But they're not letting him go.
No, what I'm saying is
There's no independent option in this story. They're not letting him go. He is too important to UMG.
Well, his deal is up. His deal's about to be up.
I mean, you know, record business accounting don't work like that. They'll be like, you haven't recouped. Like,
and I think that's why they're involved in all these legal disputes. I think Drake is doing is. Yeah, I think that's what Drake is doing. All this, he's fighting in all these directions. Like I'm gonna throw everything against the wall.
But if he was suing about the contract, we would be with him.
You can't. You can't. Here's why you can't sue about the contract. Because just like you said, it's the record business. It's run by gangsters. The lawyers know how to talk about what they're talking about. So it's like, hey, no, this is what you haven't recouped. So what you can do is say that you were in breach of contract by defaming me. So now if I win a defame thing, I'll be like, you defamed me and you're in breach of contract because you're supposed to be in my tours, movies, all this stuff. Because that $400 million deal was a 360 deal basically. And he was like, and he's like, you defamed me, get me out of this contract, I'm independent. That's why I said in the beginning, and now I know it's the truth.
That's because exactly look at it. Yeah. And if you throw enough shit against the wall and you start talking about civil RICOs and stuff, he's hoping that they're so afraid to have the books open.
Is so funny.
It's wild, but he's hoping that if that they're so afraid of the books being open that they'll just let him go to be safe.
Yeah.
Now, as far as Drake needing the machine, which I think is an important point, Drake's moment to be independent and change the game has passed. We're about 6-7 years past that. I agree with that, but there's another way to think about this. If Drake goes independent, look at Kanye. If Drake goes independent and puts out a record that goes number 5. If Drake doesn't move 500,000 units, but he moves 100,000 units, he's still killing the game financially and in far better position than being under Universal. So
for sure, but it's harder to get to number 5 because nobody is supporting your record, and we have 10 other people who are coming with support.
If Drake didn't do this lawsuit and was able to get out, say if he was independent, somehow this gets him independent, and he comes back doing that Toronto 40 sound, goes away for a second, comes back and says, like, I'm just trying to be me, I just want to focus on the music, and gets his fan base to galvanize around him, he's selling 200,000 to 300,000 first week independently, and that's streaming. He's making all that money we're talking about back. That 400 million is nothing to an independent Drake. I just want to say that because you got to understand that people stream every month, right? So I mean, every day, and every year you get a check or every week, but at the end of the year, he's gonna make half of what he would have made in that deal. That's what I'm trying to say. He'd have made $100 to $200 million in a year off of everything that is Drake independently in a year versus getting a deal for 5 years that's $400 million.
He would be at a competitive disadvantage entering the marketplace with, I got a new record. I know he's got a larger fan base than any other MC today, but you're entering the marketplace with right. But he's had flop records for like 3-4 years now, right? So he can flop no matter how good
flop,
talented
according to himself. Yes.
Right. Yeah, flop is relative.
Yeah. He's he would be entering the marketplace in this independent hypothetical Drake world where everybody else paid to get in and he does not, right? Because he's not part of the big system anymore. He's at a competitive disadvantage. He will be able to survive for some period of time and make tons of money. But like, will he continue to be a top artist where he's top of streaming and you're talking about him and thinking about him all the time? No, that would go away without support.
I agree. I mean, I think it could, right? But again, Drake has the money and the machinery to do this differently. Kendrick has the opportunity right now to step out and do this independently, and he's making those kinds of moves. My point isn't that Drake is in the best position now to make this move. Again, I think 7 years ago is when he really could have shook the table, but they made sure that he wasn't in a position to do it 7 years. So this becomes the challenge. But all of this for Drake, I think, and I hate speaking for Drake, but all of this for Drake is a reminder of why the game is being against him right now. He's like, I got the consciousness. I know what I need to do. I know how to get free. They got the thumb on the scale. And because it's not the worst conspiracy theory. At the moment where I'm trying to re-up, they're actively diminishing my value. At a moment where I'm trying to get free, they're putting the thumb on the scale to make me less powerful at the negotiating table. I mean, it's not the worst argument.
I mean, no, it's not a terrible argument. It's not a terrible argument. It's just not. I don't believe that is what happened at all. And
you think he just lost the battle and is bitching, basically?
Yeah, that's part of it.
I don't think
that's part of it.
I don't think that Lucian Grange manipulated this battle. He doesn't even like hip hop. He thinks hip hop is in decline. He would rather get back to focusing on pop music. This guy is from England. He doesn't give a fuck about any of us niggas. So he's not like, let's manipulate so that Kendrick wins, so that has X effect on Drake. And you have no fucking idea. You could have pushed Not Like Us up. It could have put a battery in Drake's back. He could have made a record that none of us saw coming. And now suddenly the whole fucking battle plays out different. I don't fucking know. Like Lucian, like the idea that Lucian can microscope this and make this happen. Like, I think that the whole system is more complex than that.
But I don't think that Lucian said, I'm going in here to conspire against Drake. Like I said, I think the truth is more, he just took his thumb off the scale for Drake. And there's an opportunity here to help Kendrick in a way that benefits their business as well. But the problem, we can't pretend that they're not. They are mutually exclusive, right? You know, in the context of this battle, not in life, but in the context of this battle, right? Once you're battling and they're at war, helping Kendrick is, I mean, there's no way to help 50 Cent and not hurt Ja Rule once they're at war.
We're still at, I still don't feel answered to the really why not drop the lawsuits, get in the booth, and make a fucking record? And if it doesn't come out in January, February, put it out in April or May, whenever. But get back to being who you are. Universal is not going to keep him from releasing a record. So, like,
no, but they are going to keep him. And this is his point, and this is probably. I mean, although Universal did take some stuff down of his off IG last week or 2 weeks ago, I think his point is, I don't want to be
took that down, not UMG. Drake took that down.
No, I think I thought he was made to take it down. That's not the case?
I don't know if we know.
I thought that was confirmed. But either way, the point is, I think Drake's position is, this is not a safe place for me to put out music right now. And if I am Drake and I do believe I'm going to win this lawsuit, and again, I don't know if he is or not lawsuit. If I'm Drake and I believe I am going to, if I'm Drake and I believe that I'm going to be successful in this struggle, ultimately, I'm keeping my heat until I'm independent, or I'm keeping my heat until I go somewhere else. I'm not giving Universal my best shit, so I understand why he would sit back. Also, and we learned this with 50 Cent season. Everybody talked about it, right? Hov made a whole song about it, right? With Star Is Born, right? There's a moment in time where you got to weather the storm of somebody. Right now, it's Kendrick. Kendrick is up. If Kendrick is up, I'm not putting out a fucking Drake song when I know that people are comparing us. If 50 Cent is on fire, I'm waiting the season out. You know what I mean? Once you take that L, you just got to wait a second.
The thing is that Drake does something, typically he does something different than Kendrick does, right? Musically, he functions in a different lane. So, yes. And like Kendrick like pulled him over, like, let's do this sort of rapping. And like, that's not really who you are, Drake. Drake likes to make us dance, and dancing is involuntary. Let the nigga come up with a good dance record, and we can't. I hate this nigga, but I can't front. This beat is the shit. You hear the way he's flipping on it, and his little chorus is like, "Yeah, gave you the cold shoulder in the Hamptons. Fuck you." Like, what? This record is fly. Like, and I can't even help it. And now, like, look, now he's back on my good side.
You're too hard on Drake, though. I think your accuracy. I think you're accurate about what Drake is good at. Drake knows how to make hits. He knows how to make pop hits. He knows how to make, which again I think is a talent that we're underestimating. And Drake is extraordinary. Drake is a generational talent. Whether you like,
I definitely don't underestimate that.
Yeah, that's fair. I should really mean Teray. Drake. Yeah, Teray is a generational talent, whether you like him or not. But Drake is also deep down a rapper. I cringe a little bit when you call him an MC, but the truth is he is an MC underneath that, all of that. So while he absolutely wants to make all those hits and he doesn't mind, Hotline Bling, remember he's still somebody that was on the underground, that was down with underground rappers. He was somebody who wanted to be down with He listened to Dilated Peoples. He listened to Jay Dilla. He listened to the Root shit. Lil Brother, was important. So Fontaine are important to him. And so if that's true, and he's already said that he takes pride in being part of the battle, it's not enough for him to just make these pop hits. Not at a moment where the streets say you just got your ass kicked. He wants to get back up on that horse. He wants to ride again. It's just not time. So you might have to wait. Sometimes you got to wait a season out. You just got to sit it out.
That's his issue.
The nigga has sat out at least 12 months now. Because
that's the bullshit. He has not. That's the thing. Like, I mean, what Drake put, and honestly, again, Family Matters.
What about Family Matters?
It was a serious record. It was a serious record.
Serious record in what way? You mean like a pop record? What do you mean by serious record?
What are you talking about? Serious record.
I'm saying that it got mopped up by Not Like Us, but it wasn't whack by any.
No, it was not whack. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're just saying he made a good diss comeback. Yes, he did.
What I'm saying is,
okay. You want to hear that record right now?
No, you're missing my point. My point is he put out something that was dope that people couldn't hear. And so I think that's a sign that, look, shut the fuck up for a little bit, because no one's going to hear it. No one wants to hear it
unless it's dope.
I mean, I don't know if it was dope, but he did have the nigga step on it 45 minutes later. If you don't have Kendrick in active releasing mode, and a lot of people made the point of like, if Kendrick doesn't do Not Like Us that evening, Family Matters might have grown some, and people take a little bit more appreciation and want to dance in their house alone to it the way you do. But like, the record got stepped on, and people were like, "Fuck Family Matters. Wait, was it Meet the Grams that stepped on Family Matters? Was it not?
Meet the Grams stepped on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Then Meet was like,
no, it was really wasn't. Euphoria is the thing that really was like, to me, it's like Euphoria, which to me is the best one of all of them in terms of like really like tearing Drake apart. And then you get, I see what you're saying. Yes, Meet the Grams sequentially, chronologically.
It ended the conversation about it. We were just starting to talk about Family Matters, just like privately amongst ourselves after a day of trying to analyze 616. And then it was like, holy shit, Kendrick dropped again?
We got in the comments, they corrected us. 616 was that Friday morning. At night, Family Matters, and over in the morning, Saturday morning, like late at night, everybody's out, people were out. That's when Meet the Grams happened. Because I remember, I think I was like I was out, then I went to sleep, and then Meet the Grams came out, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" I just heard Family Matters. It's like, what are we talking about?
Matters. God, but I think this is the point. Like, if we were like, "Yo, let's listen to Not Like Us. Let's listen to Euphoria. Let's listen to 616 and just zone out together and listen to that," you'd be like, "Yeah, that sounds fun." If I said, "Let's listen to Family Matters," would you say, in your spirit, that sounds like a fun 3 minutes?
No, yeah, I get you. I was making a whole different point. My only point was, even in the I was about whether people can even hear Drake's music right now. But no, I think Drake lost the battle. Not just, I think he lost it lyrically to some extent, but he also just tactically and strategically, he just kept catching L after L. He thought things would work that didn't. You know, AI voicing Pac and Snoop was terrible. That wasn't Drake's idea, but he went with it. You know what I'm saying?
That wasn't his idea.
No. I all I can tell you.
Whose idea was it?
He said that's wait. Well, wait, what do you know for a fact that was not his idea?
I know for a fact. I know for a 100% fact.
That's crazy.
But you can't say whose idea it was.
No.
But I mean, under the notion of artistic authorship, that his friend, whoever it may be, said, "Try this," and he said, "Okay," like he's still
responsible for it.
Yeah,
he's still responsible for it. I'm not saying it in an exculpatory way. I was just giving y'all a little bit of music, a little back.
Yeah, I think that was very interesting.
Yeah, and people like,
because if he didn't use the AI voice, but he rapped like them, it would have been different. Like if it's still your voice and you rapped like them.
Mark got a lot of connections into OVO. Did they call you and offer you money to support him during the and I'm not talking about what you did.
Are you calling me an OVO?
No, I'm not talking about what you did. I'm saying, did they offer it to you?
I have had no offers of anything from OVO or TDE or anybody else, man. I'm just an independent journalist, black man trying to make it.
Yeah.
Wait, you mentioned Snoop. I'm going to turn the corner a little bit. What would you, if Snoop and Nelly were here, coming off of performing as part of Trump's inaugural situation, what would you say to them?
Here's some cotton balls for the cork. You can get it off. You can get it up. You can get this off your face.
I mean, so what were your thoughts? You saw this. Did you see the Willa D and Nelly like conversation? And where he goes, he's like, "This is not a Klan country." It is a Klan country, bro.
It's where the Klan's from. It is a Klan country, Nelly.
I have a lot of. I like Nelly a lot, and I respect Nelly. I don't know Rick Ross at all, and I don't know Nelly well. I just know him to speak, and we've interviewed a few times, and I've had very great interactions with him, including during the Ferguson uprising. So here's what I'll say. I think we have to look at Snoop in a different way than we look at Nelly and Rick Ross on this matter.
Okay, explain.
There's one piece of it that they all are connected to, and that is it principled to perform for Donald Trump? Right? Mm-hmm. I think it's not. That's my perspective, and I can make a million arguments for why I think y'all would agree with almost all of them, if not all of them. Nelly disagrees with me. Right? He disagrees with us. Nelly believes that Donald Trump was the right person to vote for. He supports Donald Trump, and he believes in the presidency transcendent or irrespective of who's in office. So if that's his perspective, then while I think that's a bad perspective, it is at least principled or morally consistent even though I think he's wrong. In the same way that I might look at people that's performing at the Big Meech comeback, homecoming concert, and I might be like, that's some unprincipled, weird, fucked up shit. But half the hip hop community would say, more than half would be like, there's nothing wrong with that. So they disagree. Do I call them unprincipled, or do I say they have a different take, right? The difference for me with Snoop is, and Rick Ross makes it very clear, right, what he's about, right? Rick Ross ain't political. Rick Ross is not trying to be political. Rick Ross is about that bread, right? Again, there's a consistency to it. My issue with Snoop is not only does Snoop have the Nelly Rick Ross critique available to him, which is, hey, you shouldn't be endorsing Donald Trump or supporting Donald Trump in any way because he's human garbage. But the thing about Snoop is Snoop came out and said, fuck Donald Trump. He came out and said, y'all are cooning if you perform for Donald Trump, if you perform at the inauguration. And he hasn't come out and said, hey, I changed my mind. I had an about face. He did this thing for Harry O. I mean, there's all these possibilities for why he may have made a different choice. But without explanation, it leaves the door open to look like you just sold out. So for me, I hold him in a different category because you said some different shit. If tomorrow, Teray comes out and he's wearing a Drake t-shirt, and you know what I'm saying? And he's spitting Dre rhymes and he's telling everybody, that's different. You gotta explain something.
You're saying that Snoop indicated that he knew better at some point. Nelly and Rose never knew better. Yeah, so it's bad, right. But y'all are intellectually, y'all are children. Y'all don't know what you're doing. But Snoop, I'm not calling them intellectually children. I'm saying that I'm saying, just to be clear, I'm saying that Nelly and Rick Ross believe that they didn't make a bad choice. They believe that they made the right choice and then they performed at it, right? I'm saying Snoop has indicated that it's the wrong choice and still made the choice.
Yeah.
So you got to reconcile that.
So you look at Snoop differently than Nelly. I mean, I still think it's to be that daft, like to say that this is not a clan country and then be like, I love Nelly too. I'm just saying politically, I would just completely not agree with that. And I do think Snoop is wrong for, like you said it. You said, nah, you shouldn't perform. And then we see you there 2 days ago? Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
That's wild.
Come on,
there's a whole thing with Snoopy too of like trying to be,
and I love Snoop.
This middle of the road clownish, supposedly beloved by the suburban middle of America sort of figure to where, he could sell McDonald's, right? He could sell some basic G-rated product. And like, I don't know, there used to be a bit of a revolutionary aspect to Snoop. And like, that has completely gone away. And like,
what was that?
I don't know. I miss that.
I would say that I think gangster rap in general has an inherent revolution or rebellion towards it, because I don't think there is difference between NWA saying fuck the police and you saying I want to go kill that. I just killed this nigga last week. Those are two different statements, and I think the inherent context.
I agree.
Yeah, so I'm saying I think the inherent context of gangster rap comes from that. It comes from look at the situation they put me in, and this is what I have to do. And that's the same thing as the message. And then it just the context gets lost over time. So I'm gonna say Snoop is more so connected to NWA than he's connected to drill rappers. That's what I'm trying to say. So Murder Was the Case is a political statement.
I agree with I agree with the former statement. I mean, I think gangster rap itself absolutely is deeply political. It's deeply anti-establishment. It's deeply critical of the carceral state. It's deeply critical of post-industrial, urban American, underdeveloped, all that shit, right?
Yeah.
NWA's "Fuck the Police" I think is important, right? Although we gotta also hold space for the critiques of the misogyny and all the other stuff, right?
Of course,
yeah.
But when Snoop enters that moment, Snoop isn't speaking so much to fuck the police, right? Snoop is coming out of that context, and he's coming out of that musical genealogy, but Snoop isn't really even on the fuck the police coming straight from the underground vibe, right? Snoop isn't doing that, right? A 187 on an undercover cop is different. That's about a failed drug deal. That's different than fuck the police.
No. But he in the record he's saying the cop set us up. Right. So he's saying
I shot the sheriff.
I thought it was a real drug deal, but it was not. So we're gonna kill you because you tricked us.
I'm with you. I'm not negating the police. There's a critique of the police in there. I'm not negating that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that what I'm pushing back against is the initial premise that Snoop had a revolutionary underpinning to his music. I'm saying I don't think he ever had that. I think if you made that claim about Ice Cube, sure. If you made that claim about other people in West Coast rap, sure.
Yeah, I think
I'm
general.
Snoop is that pivot.
Yeah. I don't think. Yeah, you can't generally put that, but I think what he was getting at is that the context that he comes from, which I agree with. I think there is a little bit of revolutionary and rebellion in a lot of rappers' music and context when it comes to the 90s and early 2000s in general. And I think the context gets lost after that. And it just keeps getting
the specific comparison to Cube and Pac and some others, for sure. Cube and Pac are definitely more overtly political than I think pretty much. I'm trying to think anybody in Death Row. But as we were saying, I think you agree, gangster rap is inherently political in that it is a response to the war on drugs, right? And it's people saying the war on drugs put me in this position. This is what I'm doing about it. So it's inherently political. Snoop is not, I don't think there's even a line where we could say he's pointing back or pushing back against the war on drugs, but he's clearly, as a young rapper, a person who exists in that world that is sort of controlled or shaped by the war on drugs. Right, so he's responding to that.
The argument is then everybody gets but then anybody who raps about any experience that's a product of capitalism, which everything is, right? Then everybody gets hit with that same label, and so it becomes a less of a useful framework. And my only point in saying this is not to be sort of quibble about how we frame Snoop. It's to say something I think is something slightly different, which is Snoop ain't never been that guy. Snoop's always been very clear about what he is, so I don't want to see this as an about face or a shift. I don't think Snoop has changed gears or suddenly done something different. If Chuck D came out and performed, I'd be like, yo, Chuck done changed.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what I mean? but this is not inconsistent with who Snoop has ever been.
I thought we just framed it as him being inconsistent because he just said that if you performing at an inauguration, you a lame or you cooning, right? So that is inconsistent.
It's inconsistent with his statements, but not inconsistent with his music. We're just talking about his music, right? And I'm saying Snoop, as in terms of the music Snoop puts out, has never been, because again, I'm only responding to Ray's point about the ostensibly revolutionary tenor to Snoop's music. I'm saying that ain't never been who Snoop is. If anything, I think Snoop saying y'all some bitch ass coon ass niggas for speaking for Trump is the outlier. I actually think what he did 4 years ago was more of the outlier in terms of speaking about this. Now to be clear, Snoop has had moments of public consciousness. I mean, there was a moment where Snoop joined the Nation of Islam. There was a moment where Snoop was sitting with Minister Farrakhan. But even that is still a very conservative, pro-capitalist, anti-revolutionary kind of movement. So it's not like Snoop has ever. So Snoop going out against big, so Snoop supporting crypto isn't a wild variation from who I think Snoop is. The thing that surprised me was, one, the contradiction actually saying X and doing Y, but also hip hop still was kind of like fuck white supremacy. Even if we want to be down with white people, and hip hop has wanted to be Donald Trump for a million years, once Donald Trump got marked as the racist in 2016 and 2015, whatever, hip hop kind of had a collective fuck Donald Trump for a little bit. And so him saying fuck Donald Trump at that moment made sense to me. It made sense to me. Sadly, I think what Snoop is doing now is part of a bigger pivot that we're seeing among a lot of black men in America.
Yeah, let's dive deeper into that point you just drove into right there. Yeah. That at least on a media level, we were told black men are shifting toward Trump, and the media would say it like that. And I think the public perception would be, oh, black men are going to be 50-50 for Trump. And it was something like 80-20, right? And we weren't really ever talking about 50-50. I think they were suggesting you might see a 60-30, but we didn't even get to that, right? Yeah. But we do see like more and more famous black people willing and happy to say, CNN will give you a whole Kodak Black, Sexy Red, Kanye. I think there's 6 names that they keep throwing up as like, with not even including Nelly, Snoop, and Rose. And is there a black male or hip hop slight movement toward Trump or accepting him versus what we've been seeing in 16 and 20?
You're asking if there's a difference in who Trump is?
difference between in the
in
culture from back then to
and
now.
how we as black men and as a hip hop culture are receiving him.
Yeah, I think there is. I think there's a sharp one. I mean, the culture always wanted to be Donald Trump, right? I mean, Bill Gates, Donald Trump, let me in now, right? I mean,
But when he was just a rich person and he was not a political person.
yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, Nelly in particular. I mean, Nelly even told you again, which is why I'm not mad at Nelly. He's been saying literally from day one, Bill Gates, Donald Trump, let me in now, right? That's the song, right? So he ain't been unclear about that. Then Donald Trump gets marked as the racist, and this sort of he's running for president, and he's running against Hillary Clinton, and he's coming at Obama with the birth certificate stuff, et cetera, right? And so now, wanting to be white men and wanting to be rich is still in. It's just Donald Trump is not the one.
Yeah.
And then what happens over the last 4 to 8 years is, I think, one, first of all, we overstated how many people felt that way, because when you looked at the polling, again, black men had just disproportionately had affinity toward Donald Trump. And in everyday life, even people who didn't vote were kind of like, yeah, I kind of fuck with him a little bit because of his who he is, sort of in terms of his personality, his presence, etc., his identity publicly, right? This brazen, irreverent, can't nobody tell me shit, I do what I want, attitude. And then over the last 4 years, I think because the Biden administration, the Biden presidency, did not win a lot of friends. Whether you think it's fair or not, the Biden administration was not very successful in marking its gains and articulating its victories.
We barely knew what happened, like general public wise. Yeah,
yeah, and there were some failures and some mistakes, but between those two things, a lot of people were like, "Wait a minute, I was doing better before." Now, is that true? No. But the narrative became Donald Trump brought the money. Donald Trump got us them stimmy checks. Donald Trump did X, Y, Z.
Put his name on it.
Right. And so it became like, oh, well, fuck it. Maybe it ain't that bad. And so it became easier to engage and embrace him at the very least. So what really should have been just a criticism of Biden, to the extent that Trump ain't shit, but Biden isn't as good as I thought, became, well, fuck, maybe Biden ain't shit. Maybe I was wrong the whole time. A lot of people I'm talking to made that pivot, which is what Nelly effectively said. I thought maybe I heard that shit. And it turned out it was Biden the one that was saying all this wild shit.
I feel like it used to be if we just whispered that someone was racist, we all freaked out and was like, oh my God, that person is excommunicated forever. And we kind of told each other, he's racist. But after a point, people were like, I don't know. I'm going to give him a chance. I'm open to him.
Well, is Biden not racist? Is Biden not racist? That's a good question, though. If Biden put all those, said we're super predators, that was what you at 40, 35.
No.
How are you not racist?
No, that was for one thing, that was Hillary, but Hillary was talking about a specific kind of criminal. She was not saying black men are super predators. She was talking about a specific, which
That's
if you dive into criminology, there is a specific sort of person who is overperforming.
No, that's coded. That's coded to me. I'm not gonna let that slide.
They call it niggas. Yeah. But Hillary Clinton absolutely was not talking about all black people, but she wasn't saying all black people are super predators, but she damn sure communicated that all super predators were black. Right.
Yeah.
But I think with Biden, it's more the 3 strikes legislation. It's more the crime bill. He was one of the leaders of a very strong coalition of Democrats. And honestly, if we're going to be really honest about this, black people, black community members who said, look, we're getting killed out here. Our neighborhoods are crazy. We need to do something about crime. It was black people that wanted the crime bill. Black people wanted 3 strikes. Black people wanted these bills. Jesse Jackson stood up and said, no, this is wrong. You're going to end up with all your kids locked up. But people didn't listen to him. So there's a way that Joe Biden, I mean, you can go back to the 70s with Joe Biden. He opposed integration. He opposed not integration. Let me take that back. He opposed busing and desegregation efforts, school desegregation efforts in the 70s. Joe Biden has a long history of being on the wrong side of racial issues. But there's an argument that he grew, and he did. And I tell you from people I know in the White House who say, There were moments where Joe Biden was more progressive than Barack Obama, and he had to drag Barack Obama to some progressive positions on these issues. So Joe Biden did grow and develop and shift, but he doesn't do it naturally, but he does do it. And so that's the argument. But some people say, well, then why aren't we giving that same? Nelly said, why don't we give that same grace to Donald Trump? Now, I think there's plenty of reason not to give Donald Trump that grace because he continues to be racist. He continues to have terrible public. I mean, there's no reason to give Donald Trump this grace. But I think there are people who said, look, if Biden is racist and Trump is racist, then either I got to pick a racist or maybe none of these motherfuckers is racist and I just got to make a pragmatic decision. And I think a lot of people decided that maybe these are just white men being white men and I got to pick one. And I like Donald Trump.
Yeah, like rappers lived through Ronald Reagan, so we got another Ronald Reagan. That's how people see it, and they don't see the difference between it.
Right.
And for a lot of reasons, politically there isn't a difference, but socially and culturally there's a giant difference, and that's the thing that people don't really connect to.
I think there is a big difference. I think there's a huge difference politically, and I think we're already seeing that with ICE raids and the attack on gender and all these sort of things, but determining whether these powerful individuals or any individuals are racist or not gets really complicated really fast. We named some examples with Trump, with Biden, but then we didn't talk about Ketanji Brown Jackson and Kamala Harris. It's messy. But if you look at the core of Donald Trump's campaign, the actions that he has taken in recent years, the core of the campaign is an appeal to white fragility and white power, saying white people are powerful. We are under attack. I will fix that. I will deal with the people who are attacking us. That's not Joe Biden's view of the world, that white people are under assault from, brown immigrants and trans folks and DEI and affirmative action and CRT. That's Trump's view of the world. So when we as liberals go through this list of like, Trump's racism starts with apartments and the Central Park Five, I'm like, don't even do that song. Just talk about how white supremacy is at the core and the perpetuation of it,
of his campaign,
core of his current campaigns.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point.
True.
I got to run my brothers. I got to pick the kid up from daycare. I got to be responsible.
We love you. Thank you so much for the time. Much appreciated. We will have you back.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. I can't wait. Go Sixers, go Eagles, go Flyers, go Phillies.
Y'all gonna lose. Y'all gonna lose to the Commanders. All right, DC.